enthusiasm that we have here in this district and here in Virginia. Ladies and gentlemen, we are here for one reason only, and that is to make sure that our Chesapeake Bay is protected. Today we have politicians, such as our president, who feel that funding our bay isn't important. We have to make sure that we not only preserve the funding that we have for the Chesapeake Bay, but we expand it. And as we got word just this week, we are actually cutting all federal funding for the Chesapeake Bay. Does the president remember how polluted the Chesapeake Bay was only a generation ago? How we had massive dead zones and habitat loss? Does the president remember what it was like when we started to lose our oystermen? Well, I know no one here forgets that. The president talks about how he's a world-renowned businessman. But does he remember the local industries that rely on tourism, on fisheries, and on shipping? All the things that need a clean bay to support the thousands of jobs that are all here in Virginia, and also right here in the 93rd District. Furthermore, if our president would stop visiting Mar-a-Lago, actually, it's already cost $10 million just to be able to send him down to Florida every weekend. 14. At this rate, over the course of the year, he's going to spend $100 million just to go down to his golf course. Talk about overreach. And it's $73 million to be able to preserve the cleanup for the bay. If he stopped going down to Florida, then we might be able to have clean water. We've made tremendous progress cleaning the bay. It's cleaner now than it's ever been before. Pollution is down, habitat life is coming back, thousands of jobs are being kept and are growing here in Virginia right now. As your delegate here in the 93rd District, I stand here to make sure that we keep fighting each and every day to keep that funding in place. And this is a bipartisan issue. This is not something that Republicans or Democrats have to disagree about. Our voices need to be loud and clear that we're standing here to protect our Chesapeake Bay, to protect its funding, and to know that we can and will preserve this wonderful water space. So thank you all very much for being here today. I'd like to introduce you to Senator Monty Mason.
Good morning. Thank you all for coming out. I can't tell you how much I appreciate you taking your Saturday morning to come out and do something as important as this with us. Thank you, Mike Mullin, for your leadership on this issue. Our great First Lady, Dorothy McAuliffe, who has worked tirelessly to impact the lives of children, our environment, and just the general health and well-being of all the citizens of Virginia. Pam Northam, hopefully our next First Lady. Who, of course, his partner was born and raised on the Chesapeake Bay, and a myriad of other groups and organizations that care so much about our environment. At a time that we have the most inexperienced, ill-prepared administration in Washington in my lifetime, arguably maybe ever, it's important for us to understand where we are in the process. The administration has sent a budget to Congress that eliminates the funding entirely for the restoration of the Chesapeake Bay. That's why it's important for us to be here today, because our congressional leaders, our two great United States senators yesterday, spearheaded a letter to the Appropriations Subcommittee saying that they demand that all funding be restored to the $73 million number. Now, every Democratic senator in the Chesapeake Bay watershed signed it except Chuck Schumer, who was probably busy. It's interesting to note that the two Pennsylvania senators, who may have been busy themselves, I'm not casting aspersions on them, but they did not sign the letter. All right, that's why this is so important. Federal regulatory efforts and federal oversight is not a bad thing. This must be done comprehensively and cannot be left piecemeal state by state. Pennsylvania has just a drain today, no bay frontage. But the bulk of the agricultural runoff in the Chesapeake Bay comes from Pennsylvania. So left to their own devices, would they necessarily put the money necessary to save it in from their state coffers? That's why it must be done at the federal level. Now, it started in... life studying geology, and if he tells you he's got a dinosaur bone, come on now.
He doesn't know the difference between an elephant and a dinosaur.
Yeah. Sir, you know what I got in your class. Every politician that you hear from now talks about what? Jobs, jobs, jobs. We're fortunate to have had a CEO of the state of Virginia for the past 3 years who may be the greatest job creator that we've seen in the colony. And if you've heard him speak once, you've heard him talk about Virginia industry, Virginia wine. We've even introduced a new strain of Virginia oyster. That's because of the progress we're making in the Chesapeake Bay. In the year 2013 to 14, Bay oysters dockside value $44 billion, with $28 billion of it coming from Virginia. So we know that whether it's the working waterman, whether it's the recreational fisherman, or tourism, the Bay generates about $22 billion of economic activity a year. So this is not just an environmental play, which is critically important. This is a play for the future of the Virginia economy now, and the nation's economy. Our congressional delegation and our state senators are in the right place on this, okay? But it's critically important for us to be here today to say, push back, fight back, and we at home have got your back. So thank you very much. Now I'll introduce Mary Raftery and her son Sully from the Virginia Conservation Network, who've been joined us here today.
This many people on a Saturday morning outside with a parking lot that's not that big in the park on a day that's kind of rainy. So thank you so much for coming out here and standing up for such an incredible issue like the Chesapeake Bay. I really appreciate it. Let me thank Senator Mason for introducing me and for all of your remarks, as well as Delegate Mullin for inviting us to speak here today. Like they said, my name is Mary Raftery. I'm the Executive Director with the Virginia Conservation Network. We are a partnership of over 100 conservation organizations all across the state, working not only to clean up the Chesapeake Bay, but also working to fight global warming, get more clean energy in the ground, make sure we protect all the pristine landscapes that we all love about Virginia. So we're everybody from the Garden Club to the Sierra Club to your local friends of whichever closest park is near you. And we have many groups that are working to protect the Chesapeake Bay. The Chesapeake Bay Foundation, the James River Association, the Lynn Haven River Now. And we are just proud to be working to clean up so many resources and the places that we love and protect here in Virginia. So let's talk a little bit about the Chesapeake Bay because from my perspective, it is one of the places that most people here really is a true value to clean up and protect the Chesapeake Bay. Everybody in Virginia probably has a story, whether it's going kayaking on the Potomac, jumping off the rocks into the James River, eating oysters from the Rappahannock, or probably they just have a stream in their backyard that they like to bounce around in and go and play in that is a tributary into the river that feeds into the Chesapeake Bay. And that's why cleaning up and restoring and protecting the Chesapeake Bay is such a Virginia value, because everybody has a connection with it. And that's why President Trump's budget is completely out of step with the Virginia values and with the Virginia values to clean up and protect the Chesapeake Bay. And I just want to reiterate that this is a bipartisan issue. In fact, in addition to the Senate letter that went up, a couple of weeks ago, there was a House letter that went up from congressional members, and not only did all of the Democrats in Virginia who are in the Chesapeake Bay sign on to the letter, but 3 Republicans in the Chesapeake Bay watershed signed on to that letter calling for full funding, asking President Trump for full funding for the Chesapeake Bay. Virginians, both Democrats, Republicans, Independents, we want to clean up the Chesapeake Bay. Many remember when the Chesapeake Bay wasn't cleaned up, and while it's cleaner, we are not all the way there. There's still a lot of work to be done, and we are working in a bipartisan manner on the state level, but the state is not enough. We need full funding on the federal level as well. So I hope that you'll join me in calling on all of our members of Congress to stand up and put together a budget that really protects the values that we hold, including clean water, including cleaning up the Chesapeake Bay. So thank you all again so much for having me here. And Sally, say thank you very much.
Mike Town.
Welcome, everybody. So I'm a Pennsylvanian and a Marylander, and now a Virginian. I've lived my entire life in the Chesapeake Bay watershed, and now I get to raise kids here in Virginia. I came to Virginia because I love its history. I love the bay, and just about a mile down river here, 400 and some odd years ago, Captain John Smith set out to go map the entire Chesapeake Bay, and he found an abundance of wildlife and fish and a beauty that he'd never witnessed before. And over 240 years ago, our founding fathers stood in the town square just up the road here, and they fought a tyrant. They stood up to a tyrant, and they told him they built a new nation, and they built that nation on the principle that we are one people, or we are one nation out of many people. Now today we're faced with a different type of tyrant, but a tyrant nonetheless. He wants to take health care away from the poor. He wants to build walls and keep people out based on who they worship, based on what language they speak, and based on the color of their skin. And he wants to destroy that beautiful, beautiful bounty that Captain John Smith witnessed. That's what he wants his legacy to be. And I tell you what, we are going to stand up to that. This is our time. This is our time. We're going to take that time. I talk to people all across this Commonwealth, and we see crowds like this every weekend. And they're growing bigger. But you know what? This is not enough. We can bring our signs. We can come together on a Saturday morning. But we need more than that. You must volunteer. You must give your time. You must sacrifice yourself, because this is a battle, and we must win. After today, you go home, you join my organization, join these other organizations. Volunteer for these campaigns. We have wonderful people running for governor, wonderful people like Mike running for re-election as your delegate. People who are going to champion the Bay and the other causes and values you believe in. You must volunteer with them. And you must vote. As our last president said, don't boo, vote. That's what we have to do. So please, join me over these next 6 months. Stand up, speak out, make your voices heard. And let's make sure that this tyrant does not get what he wants, that we decide what the future of this country is going to be. Thank you. And colleague, Stephanie Weber with CCAP.
Thanks, everybody. I'm also a Williamsburg resident and started as Virginia Director of the Chesapeake Climate Action Network a few months ago. Happy to be with you. Don't we feel fortunate that Senator Mason and Delegate Mike Mullin are representing us in Michigan? We are in hard times right now. We got a lot of fights ahead of us. First Lady McAuliffe and hopefully future First Lady Pam Northam, I think, are right there with us, ready to fight. I'm hopeful. I would not be in the world of policymaking if I did not have an unending hope that ultimately we prevail and do the right thing, and that the people and what the people need is what prevails, and not what corporate desires take priority. We are not about profits. We are about protecting that which is most dear to us. And I think we all agree that the Chesapeake Bay is a national treasure. and it deserves ongoing support. I think we have an administration who would love to have states take control of more things. I won't disagree, maybe there are some areas, but the Chesapeake Bay is definitely not one of those areas. So we will continue to fight, and I am hopeful that our senators and our congressional members will see the value of that fight. That doesn't mean that states don't have their own priorities and their own responsibilities to help in that regard. I don't know if you saw the news from yesterday, but Maryland's Governor Larry Hogan actually came out and said that he wants to permanently ban fracking in Maryland. Right now, Virginia's kind of at its own precipice. We've got a couple of proposed pipelines that honestly, even though they're inland, could really impact the health of the Chesapeake Bay. And they are moving forward. We know that jobs are critical in this state, and the economy is critical in this state. I would love us, with the intelligence of our delegate and our senator and all the hard people working, to really look at clean energy options, because if we can we're not gonna improve. Climate change is happening. We know it's going to happen. We got to deal with the consequences. So let's work together as Virginians to make sure that we continue to move in the right direction. Again, thank you for your support and for your support as well, and for everybody being out here today.
You know, we have a wonderful friend in Pam Northam. She has been a leader on environmental issues for many, many years. Her work with Lynn Haven River now is extraordinary, and we are blessed to be able to have her here today, to be able to speak with us for a moment. Thank you so very much for being here.
Yeah. Thank you, Delegate Mullin. I'm sloping downhill here. Forgive me if I wander a bit. Well, good morning. Good morning. How proud this is today. I can't stand here near the banks of the James River and not think about the Native peoples who lived for millennia in harmony with the rivers and the bay. I also thank Mike for talking about old Captain John Smith, who over 400 years ago explored this whole bay area in a tiny open boat. And he did say, just as Mike said, that heaven and earth had never conspired to create a more beautiful biodiversity for man. I think also he said something about all you had to do for dinner was dip your frying pan in the water and come out with your dinner. I wonder what Captain John Smith would say today. I remember when I first fell in love with this area, I came here as a new bride to my husband's home on the eastern shore near Nancock. And it was a chilly, gray day like today, and as we came around the corner and saw the water for the first time, a little bolt of sunlight came through and lit up the wetland grasses in bronze and gold, backdrop with the beautiful pine trees and the mirror of the water, and I fell in love. Ralph wasn't so bad either. Oh well. And later, when we came back from Germany in our Army service, we could have gone anywhere, but the Bay was calling us home to raise our children here on the banks of the Bay and the river. Ralph, in his political office, has fought for many, many years to take care of the crab, the menhaden, to reduce pollutants into the bay water here. And me, I have the best job ever. I get to work at the beautiful Brock Environmental Center that's right at where the Chesapeake Bay meets the Lynn Haven River. It's one of the greenest buildings in the world, so come see us sometimes if you haven't been there to visit yet. And where's my climate change folks? We are powered by solar and wind. But the beautiful Brock Environmental Center is the home to the Chesapeake Bay Foundation and Lynn Haven River now. And Lynn Haven River
town has a very interesting story. When we were created in 2002, the Lynnhaven River was so sick that less than one, think about that for a minute, less than 1% of that river was clean enough to harvest the legendary oysters from anymore. So after 15 years of work, of community partnerships, of federal leadership in the form of grants overseen by the EPA and state leadership, today 49% of that river is clean enough and safe enough to swim, fish, and harvest again. There are victories like that all along the Chesapeake Bay, and we've all fought to turn the tide, so to speak, but we can't stop now. There's still so much left to fight for, as Jane Goodall says. So please, speak up. Tell your story of your love for the Bay and how it affects the health of your community. Vote for good people like these and for my husband who has stood up and fought for the health of our waterways. And please join your local environmental nonprofits because, trust me, they need your help now more than ever. Your talent, your time, and your funds. What we do now in our great nation affects the future for our children. What we do to the land, to our air, to our water, and to each other will determine our future. So thank you for having me out here today, and thank you all for what you do. Now it's my great privilege to introduce someone very special. So we've actually been out on the boat several times together in environmental education, and I know her children have been out with the Chesapeake Bay Foundation on many of their environmental education programs as well. Because of this beautiful lady, 5 million children have gone to school with breakfast in their tummies instead of being hungry. The first lady of Virginia, Dorothy McCullough.
Thank you very much. I'm honored to be here. I know we've had a lot of amazing speakers, and you can hear the commitment from all of them, but I'm really honored to have the opportunity to say a few words on behalf of my husband, the governor, and myself. You know, first of all, I also want to acknowledge the beautiful blue herring that joined us. Well, really, I mean, that says it more than I could say. And the energy of the children here, which is really what this is all about. I mean, I'm so happy to see so many young people here and their amazing signs. And where did Missoula go? Anyway, this is so important to all of us, and we know that. That's why we're here. And so it is important to speak out. It is important to turn out on a Saturday morning when we could be doing other things. You all are so committed, but we have to continue to tell the story, to magnify the story and the importance, and to bring your neighbors along and your family and everyone you know across the country, because this is, as has been said, a national treasure, and it is right here for us. We have so many. I do work with very hard. I've had the privilege and the opportunity to put my best efforts towards making sure every child has enough to eat, and so they can reach their full potential every day and in their lives, to have that opportunity for education. And so that rolls into my husband's work, which is all about the new Virginia economy and making sure all families have the opportunity to have to feed their children well, and to have access to health care, and to have parks and a beautiful environment, safe communities to play in. It's all connected, and it all begins with the amazing natural resources and assets that we have here in Virginia. We have our people, and we have amazing natural resources. And stewarding those resources to continue to build the economy can be done with the right leadership. And that's why he has focused so hard on making sure we have smart investments in our economy and smart investments that protect our resources, because
This resources is where so many of our watermen make their living. So many of our businesses that have grown up around agribusiness, agritourism, our restaurant scene, our tourism scene. It's all because of this tremendous asset here. So we can grow businesses and still protect so that we have that asset for future generations. So 18 million people, 18 million families live on this bay and its watershed. And we have to speak up to protect those clean environments so that our future generations have every opportunity to reach their full God-given potential, and so that we can maintain this opportunity to have biodiversity in the world, so that we can, it's so complicated on so many levels, but it's really so simple on so many levels. Good leadership can steward resources to continue to grow the economy. Our economy depends on this. And that's why the decades of work that have gone into cleaning the bay, restoring, so that we now have half a million bushels of oysters back in this bay. Oysters, the hardest working organism on the planet. They've done their job. We need to do our job to protect them and to make sure that they can continue to feed our families, feed our economy, and feed our future. So thank you all so very much for letting me be here. I want to thank Delegate Mullin and Senator Mason for being here, and for all of you for coming out and continuing to work hard. And we have a huge opportunity. I think we have a candidate for the House as well who is here, Zach.
Zach Whitcomb.
All right, Zach. They like to keep our elections often and frequent. Some in power think they can suppress turnout, but we're not going to let that be the story in Virginia. We're going to make sure that we get the right person elected governor of Virginia, to make sure that we have Ralph Northam in office and Pam as our First Lady, to continue the great work that I would say, I like to be humble, but I will say that my husband has done and put amazing effort into making sure that our General Assembly understands that we do need to put our resources into conservation and to the new energies of solar and water power and everything else that we can do to make those new clean energies available. And we've got to get Ralph elected. We've got to get, I'll let Zach speak for himself, but we've got to make sure that we get this maintained leadership that will steward us in the right direction. So thank you all very, very much.
This guy. What a tough act to follow. I'll be very brief because I see people shivering. My name is Zach Whitcamp. I came up for Newport News, and I am running for the House of Delegates in the 94th District. And while I know this is not, where the election is happening, I am a graduate of Walsingham Academy, so Williamsburg is a very special place to me. And just a personal story, my father spent 35 years as a civil engineer at Langley Air Force Base. And his job was to make sure that anytime there was a fuel spill or an oil spill, he was the first one out there in oil booms. And I was with him a lot of times in the middle of the night, cleaning up this mess. And he devoted his life to making sure that these waters were clean and they were safe. And what really frightens me is if we see a budget where so many more dollars are going towards defense spending, but we see this huge reduction towards protecting this water, where is the balance? We have to fight this. It does not make sense environmentally, and it is not going to make sense economically. So I'm so happy to see all this energy out here today. And while this is not our district, we need your support, we need your help. So thank you everybody for being here today. It really means a lot. And we'll see you in November. Thank you.
I'm another Zach. I got really confused there for a second. I was like, wait a minute, what's going on? I work for the Sierra Club. I'm the Hampton Roads program manager. And there's the Sierra Club fans here. Awesome. Thanks again to Delegate Mullin and Senator Mason and everybody else who came out here to rally for what is a national treasure. When I first heard about the news, I was shocked for about 2 seconds, and then I realized and remembered what we're dealing with. It's an outrageous and unnecessary cut. We've got bipartisan consensus on the fact that cleaning up the Chesapeake Bay is a good thing. It's good for our region. It's good for our nation. It's out of step. It's out of step with Virginians, many of whom rely on the Bay for the economic benefits as well as recreation. It's estimated that the economic benefits of the Chesapeake Bay are more than $1 trillion, which is enormous. And the progress being made towards cleaning up the Bay is a critical resource for the things that other folks have mentioned, the fisheries, the oyster, the watermen, and all of those industries. A full cut of this program would be absolutely devastating. It would hobble the EPA and their ability to protect clean water, but that's not all that's going to happen. That's not all the cuts that are there. The Trump administration has proposed slashing the EPA's budget by 1/3 and eliminating 1 in 5 of its employees, which again would significantly reduce the amount of impact that the EPA is able to have. And they're justifying this as a way to reduce overall federal spending and also increase military spending. But the EPA's budget is only about 0.2% of overall federal spending, and the EPA's budget amounts to approximately 1/4% increase for defense spending. So cutting this is not going to have any significant impact on increasing national security spending or reducing the overall federal budget. This is dangerous policy. The Department of Defense has identified climate change as a threat multiplier, and reducing the EPA's ability to address carbon pollution just magnifies that threat. This is not only a national security issue and public safety issue, but it's also a public health issue. The impacts of cutting the EPA and their budget are literally a matter of life and death. There will be impacts on people's health. For example, EPA standards for things like mercury and other toxic pollutants have prevented up to 11,000 premature deaths and over 100,000 asthma attacks. Standards on smog and soot pollution, you've got 34,000 premature deaths there, 400,000 asthma attacks. If the Trump administration overturns the Clean Power Plan, which is the bedrock climate policy that we have in this country, it could trigger up to 3,600 premature deaths and 90,000 asthma attacks. So there are significant health impacts as well that would come with these cuts. I think Senator Mason, I think you mentioned this, that polluters are not going to pollute. They're not going to police themselves, right? We've seen that here in Virginia with Dominion and the coal ash issue. This is a billionaire's budget, and it's again, it would strain EPA's ability to enforce things like the Clean Water Act, Safe Water Drinking Act, things that are extremely important to the health and safety, not only of bodies of water, but of the public, the general public. This budget does exactly what the fossil fuel industry and its allies in Congress have been trying to do for years. It guts funding for the EPA to do its job. It would give polluters a free pass to cause real direct harm and damage to the environment, all while making huge profits. This is all about money. I recently saw a film at the Narrow. I don't know if anybody's here been in the Narrow. Wonderful place down there. And it was about glaciers melting in Antarctica. And the film ended with the statement of, now that you know, what are you going to do? And that's what I want to encourage and leave y'all with. We're going to have lots of challenges over the next few months, the next several years, but we can't give up. We cannot stop fighting. We've got to get involved, we've got to get organized, and we've got to, more importantly, we've got to stay that way. We've got to stay engaged. This has to be for the long term. 6 months from now, we've got to be just as fired up as we are right now today. If we don't, we're not going to get anywhere. This movement, this resistance must last the long term. Even if by some magical turn of events, things seem to get better, we've still got to keep fighting for our morals, our values, and our ideals. And I know right now it might seem like everything is just messed up and crazy, but I'll leave you with a quote from Naomi Klein, a social activist and someone I look up to a lot. To change everything, we need everyone. And that's you and you and you and you. So get involved. I hope to see you out there.
You know, I work in the courtroom every day as a prosecutor, and I like a fight. And part of an event like this is that we want to be able to have something concrete that we can take back and be able to send up to Washington. So I appreciate everyone being here, but what I really love is for everyone here to sign this letter to the President asking that we preserve our funding for the Chesapeake Bay. So thank you all for being here. But before you leave, I would love it if you would all sign this letter. We have a number of markers here, and I would love it if our First Lady would be the first signature.
Can he read it?